Hello students. Okay, in this video we're going to be looking at some linear equations that first need a bit of simplifying before we can actually start to solve them. Okay, so on this page you should have seen this before if you watched any previous videos. This is basically a general approach to solving almost any linear equation. And for this particular equation, or these equations that we're going to do, that's what we have to do first. We have to start by simplifying each side of the equation. And once we've done that, we can then go ahead and actually solve it. And if we get nice answers, in other words, not fractions, we can go ahead and check it to see if, in fact, we have the correct answer. Okay, so looking at the first equation, 2y plus y minus 4 equals negative 10. Well, we got y appearing twice in this equation. So in general, if the unknown appears more than once, you're going to have to do some simplifying. If it's on the same side of the equation, and if it's on the opposite sides of the equation, you have to add or subtract to get it on only one side. So in this case, we have to use the fact that we have like terms. 2y plus 1y simplifies to 3y, and then minus 4 equals negative 10. And now we're back to an equation we can solve. So once again, we need to add or subtract first. So I'll put on plus 4 on both sides. Minus 4 plus 4 cancels out. That gives us 3y equals negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6. Divide both sides by 3. I'll just have to move this other equation out of the way, so we have space to do the answer. And the 3's cancel out, or you could say 3 divided 3 is 1, and 1 times y is just y. And negative 6 divided 3 is negative 2. Okay, let's go ahead and do a quick check. We'll use the original equation and not the one that I simplified. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus negative 2 is negative 6. And negative 6 subtract 4 is negative 10. So we do, in fact, have the correct answer. So let me just see if I can move that up a bit to give us space. So the message from that problem, that example, if I can scroll it up, is if you have the same letter, the unknown, appearing more than once, one way to simplify it is to just add or subtract like terms. Okay, what do we have to do in this equation here? Well, we've got the unknown appearing twice, but we also have some brackets. So the first thing we have to do, well, first thing I'm going to do is change all of my subtractions to add the negative, because I just find it's easier to add integers than to subtract integers. The second thing we have to do is to use the distributive law to expand the brackets. So negative 7 times 5 is negative 35 plus negative 7 times negative 2x. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so that gives me plus 14x, and I'll just copy that down, plus negative 6x equals 13. So step 1, I expanded the brackets. Okay, step 2, I notice that I now have two terms both involving x, so they're like terms. So now I can simplify by adding like terms. So that gives me negative 35 plus, and 14 plus negative 6 is positive 8. So plus 8x equals 13. Now the fact that the that 8x is written second is not a problem. That's exactly the same as 8x plus negative 35. So I have to add or subtract to start with. So I'm going to basically add to this. Negative 35 plus positive 35 goes to 0. And therefore I add 35 to that side. Negative 35 plus 35 cancels out, or goes to 0, and 0 plus 8x is just 8x, and 18 plus 35 is 48. Okay, a bit more scrolling, and divide both sides by 8. The 8s divide out, and that leaves us with our answer of x equals 48 divided 8, and x equals 6. Now we can go ahead and substitute. It's starting to get a little bit tricky, but let's go ahead and try it anyhow. So if we've got a 6 in place of x there, that becomes 5 minus 2 times 6. That's 5 minus 12. 5 minus 12 is negative 7. And negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. So I'm going to actually write that down. And plus, we've got negative 6 times 6 is 36. So negative times a positive is a negative. So that gives us negative 36. And 49 plus negative 36 is 13. So it does check. But once again, it might be easier, rather than trying to substitute and evaluate to check it, it would be easier to just work your way through the steps again to just double check that way. Okay, here's a couple for you to try. So pause the video, get out your exercise book if you don't have it out already, have a go, showing you working, and turn the video back on to check your answers once you've finished. Okay, welcome back, students. Okay, with the first one, we're just going to have to start by expanding the brackets. So 2 times x is 2x, plus 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 equals negative 5. 6 plus 1 adds to 7, so 2x plus 7 equals negative 5. Okay, the opposite of adding 7 is subtracting 7. And those cancel out. And that leaves just 2x on the left. Negative 5 subtract 7 is negative 12. And divide both sides by 2. And if I've done everything correctly, x equals negative 12 divide 2, x equals negative 6. Okay, let's do a quick check on that one. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. So that does check. Again, you might be able to do that using a calculator, or do it in your head like I did it. Or the other way to do it to check your answers, just carefully work through the steps, looking for any possible mistakes. Okay, looking at the second equation, I'm going to change subtract to add the negative, and of course the coefficient in there is a 1, so I'll write that in as well. Using our distributive law to expand the brackets, 8 times 2 is 16, plus 8 times negative 1 is negative 8x. Copy down the plus 1 equals 9. Okay, now we need to add some like terms. So I've got 16 plus 1. Well, that's going to add to 17 plus negative 8x. And that equals 9. So once again, the fact that the variable, the unknown, is written second doesn't make any difference. That's the same as negative 8x plus 17. So to remove the plus 17, I subtract 17. from both sides. 17 takes 17, goes to 0, leaving just negative 8x. 9 subtracts 17 is negative 8. Divide both sides by negative 8. Those cancel out or divide out, and negative 8 divide negative 8 is 1. So it looks like x equals 1. Quick check. 2 minus 1 is 1. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9, so that answer is in fact correct. So in summary, if you've got brackets in an equation like this, the first thing you have to do is expand the brackets. And once you've done that, you then may have to add or subtract like terms, like we've done in both of those equations. And once you've done that, once your variable appears just once in the equation, you can then go ahead and solve it. Okay, so we'll move on and look at some slightly harder questions in the next video.